built in the early 1700s by the father of Charles Carroll of Carrollton. Charles Carroll of Carrollton was the only Roman Catholic to sign the Declaration of Independence and was considered one of the wealthiest men in all 13 colonies. Carroll outlived every other son. His nephew John was the first Catholic archbishop in the country and was the Archbishop of Baltimore. The family donated the home and acreage to the Catholic Church. It is now the site of St. Mary's Church and School. The family home is a museum and meeting area. In 1695, the capital of Maryland was moved from St. Mary's City in southern Maryland here to Annapolis. These streets represent the oldest part of Annapolis, as they were originally laid out at that time. The small marina on the right, known as the Old Town Marina, is at the foot of Shipwright Street, so named because small ships were built on this location many years ago. Just ahead of us is Acton's Cove, named Richard Acton, a carpenter from Virginia who owned the surrounding land. In 1669, Mr. Acton sold 19 acres of this land to the agents from Lord Baltimore, who designated it an official port of named Arundelton. For many years, the cove extended much farther into town, offering ideal depth and protection for merchants unloading and loading goods. Beginning in the latter half of the 19th century, the headwaters of the cove began to be utilized as a public trash dump. Shaped, manicured, and covered with topsoil, this land now supports some of the most expensive homes in Annapolis. The city's hospital was located at the end of this cove from 1902 until 2001, when the hospital was moved to a larger and much more convenient facility west of town. Most of the 20th century medical center facility complex has been dismantled and replaced by residential development. Only the 1910 section of the old hospital survives today as condominium residences. However, you may still hear this cove referred to as Hospital Cove. As we make our turn at the end of Acton's Cove, look off to the right. A large red brick building up on the hill with the well-manicured lawn is known as Acton Hall, so named because it sits on some of the land owned by Richard Acton in the 1650s. It was built as a city home in the early 1770s by John Henry, son of a wealthy Ann Arundel County family, a lawyer and member of the Maryland General Assembly. It remains a private home. Back in the colonial days, water transportation was the primary mode of travel. Annapolis, being a colonial city, was built before modern sewage systems and paved roads. So, while the roads hills, the air was better and the bugs fewer. Annapolis did not have a sewage system until the mid-1930s, so everything drained down into the water, rainwater, refuse, and sewage included. The current desirability of waterfront living is a recent attitude change resulting from adequate sewerage, stormwater management, and mosquito control. This section of Annapolis, from Old Woman's Cove to the head of the creek on the right, is called Spa View Heights. A number of the houses in Spa View Heights area are Sears Roebuck houses, built from plans and materials provided by the mail order company. All materials were shipped by rail to Annapolis for construction on site by the homeowners and his helpers. There are several stories as to the origin of the name Spa Creek. But one is that it got its name from the freshwater spa, or springs at the headwaters of the creek, just inland from where we make the turn to go back. As we approach the headwaters of Spa Creek, our draft and shallow water restrict us from going any further. So, we'll turn around here. The tract of undeveloped land on our right is Truxton Park. The initial 33 acres of this city park was donated by Truxton Beale in 1931 to be utilized as a public park and playground. The city took ownership in 1955, and it now covers 67 acres. Truxton Beale was the great-grandson and namesake of Commodore Truxton in 1794. He was the first commander of the frigate Constellation, built in Baltimore in 1797. The park contains tennis courts, baseball diamonds, a swimming pool, several picnic areas with barbecue pits, and a launching ramp, one of only 2 public launch ramps in the city. The condominiums on our right are known as Shearwater. They were designed and built by the late Paul Pierson. Paul Pierson was instrumental in the restoration of all the historic inns of Annapolis, which you may have seen and even stayed in during your visit. As mentioned earlier, all the land on your right from here out to the Severn River is called explor. Charles J. Murphy is credited with having given the area its name. Mr. Murphy, a retired U.S. Navy boatswain, moved into the explor area and became principal in the Annapolis Glass Company formed in 1885, located in the eastport side of the creek. The factory produced glass, green and clear, for bottles and jars and other uses. Sand needed for the manufacture of glass was floated downstream from deposits at the head of the Severn River. In 1665, a Quaker by the name of Robert Clarkson received a 300-acre patent from Lord Baltimore. Clarkson named his land Corncourt. He had immigrated to Maryland before 1657 and settled on the land shortly after that, which was customary for the time.
Just going to pause for a second. I want you to see something. See this bird here? This is an osprey. Ospreys migrate here every year on the same week to Maryland. They come by the hundreds. They're from South America. They have their children. They go back. And they come back again. They have a lifespan of about 14 or 15 years. They mate for life. They come as a pair. The dad right now, he's out. There's two chicks up there, I happen to know. And then yeah, from the little big rockfish or some kind of back down that pole. See, maybe that's
Hornbeck and adjoining land into an 809-acre farm that they named the President in 1803. The condominiums on the right are called President's Point, named after that man. Now look off to the left, above the trees. You'll see a large gray and white dome. This is the Maryland State House, begun in 1772, and to its left, the steeple of St. Anne's. The State House is a national landmark, earning its distinction because it is the oldest state house in the United States that has been in continuous use for legislative purposes. It has the largest wooden dome in the United States, constructed of cypress beams and assembled with wooden pegs. The lightning rod atop the dome is that Congress ratified the Treaty of Paris in January 1784, making Annapolis the first capital of the independent United States of America. Delegates to Maryland's Constitutional Convention, held in the State House in 1788, voted to make their state the The church steeple that you saw to the left of the State House building is on Church Circle, which you probably drove around as you came into town. This supreme power, Governor Francis Nicholson designed Annapolis so that the State House is on the highest point in the city. St. Anne's Church is on the second highest. Just beyond the spot, the first of the wooden bridges was built in 1870, shortly after Eastport was first subdivided into residential and commercial lots. In 1781, Revolution, while awaiting transport south. Eastport had begun to develop a number of maritime businesses, boat building and repair facilities, marinas, and boat.
I'm going to stop him here because he's going to talk about the Maritime Museum stuff over here. But look at that view of the chapel. You know?
Or offloading seafood or other goods. Maritime activities have flourished here ever since. One of the most notable among these was the Annapolis Yacht Yard for the United States Navy in World War II. Several of the larger buildings off our right side were constructed for the wartime boat building effort. The Annapolis Yacht Yard was the largest private employer in Annapolis, and 3 shifts worked round the clock on the war effort, including an overnight shift of female workers. After the war, boat builder John Trumpy and his sons purchased the boathouse. They built luxury motor yachts, many of which are still operating today and are treasured as beautiful and held business in the 1970s. And the property was taken over in part by the Chart House Restaurant and by small maritime